have bomb blasts on daily basis in Peshawar. In fact, like early morning would be a bomb blast. We would wake up with with the sound of a blast.
At a personal level, I have faced terrorism, I have understood it, and I have lived through it. I belong to that generation of people who have lived in the shadow of conflict and for whom violence and terrorism has become an integral part of their life. It's a way of life that they live through every day. And it's for me, therefore, working on issues of peace, working on issues of extremism and terrorism are a natural extension of what I have suffered or what I have gone through as a young Pakistani woman.
The way the Pakistan image is projected internationally, that everybody is extremist and everyone is thirsty for blood of the non-Muslims, and they usually, are very violent people. So that's a misconception and misperception regarding the Pakistani nation. Because I always say that 99.9% of the Pakistanis are very moderate, very progressive, very accommodative, and very tolerant people. This is just a very small number, small percentage of the population, which is holding on, the rest of them as hostage, because the people, they fear that if they come out in the open and start, challenging these extremist ideas, they will be harmed, or their loved ones will definitely be attacked or somehow harmed in some ways. So that is one thing. Secondly, actually, I just want to tell the people in the world that we are the ones who suffered at the hands of these extremists. 35,000 civilian Pakistanis lost their lives. So the suicidal attackers or the extremists have harmed no one else in the world except the Pakistanis. And the Pakistanis definitely are the majority of them are the Muslims, and out of those 35,000, majority of them are Pashtuns. And we also lost 3,000 security forces. So this, when you look at this situation, you would just find out that the sufferers in this whole madness of extremism is no one else. It's the Pakistanis themselves.
There are several root causes for rise and growth of extremism and terrorism in Pakistan, several of which are also contested and debated. I agree that some aspects are related to economic problems of Pakistan. Some aspects are definitely related to lack of economic opportunities. There's a youth bulge in Pakistan, which does not have adequate resources and enough opportunities to channelize its creative energies, to channelize its social and political aspirations in a constructive way. Add to that Pakistan has a checkered political, religious history, in which sectarian conflicts, in which ethnic conflicts have played a major role in inciting intolerant tendencies within society, within groups, within communities. So intolerance is another major factor. And then there is an international factor. Pakistan has been an important player in the Afghan jihad, which is where most experts trace the origins of terrorism in Pakistan, in Pakistani society. So there are several, but at a societal level, because of all the historical processes, it's a culmination of intolerance, it's a culmination of political discontent, it's a culmination of weaponization and militarization of society, which has led to its violent manifestation in Pakistan.
Women in our society are already depressed. Going to the markets is kind of unleashing their depression. And when you're denied that freedom also, then it's only the four walls of the house. And then they feel frustrated. And then secondly, when they're like, naturally their husbands are out, their sons are out, you can't control the mobility of men, they have to go out to work. And when there is a bomb blast, and they really, in a hospital, I personally saw a woman, she was holding her
women to brothers, women to husbands. So she is the key. And how she has not been used or trained or, made aware of her role. So that's one of the reasons that we believe that the US diplomats, intelligence, military, all of these people should engage women and empower women to bring this change. Because I know what kind of influence I have over my son and my husband. This may be a different cultural context, but women in our society, they are taken as a sense of honor. And our word does carry, a lot of weight in that sense.
I think in Pakistan there's a kind of like a bit of a paradox that on the one hand women may not be taken seriously, they may be marginalized, which they are, but men are also perhaps more likely to listen to them, at least lend them an ear at least for a while, because they with a man they might behave far more brusquely, far more aggressively. With women there's this tendency to hold back and at least listen politely. And so women can, if they approach the issue properly, craft their messages effectively, I think they can get, the idea across.
They're the one who can moderate their minds. So women as the mothers in Pakistan, they are the ones that really need to be educated, how they raise the children. At the very outset, I call home as intensive care unit, ICU. Because and woman is the one who is nursing this ICU, this very social unit of the society. When ICU is not working properly, then how can you talk about the society? And since the person who is nursing the ICU and taking care of that particular ICU, that how can you be able to monitor? So mothers, Pakistani mothers, as women, they must be educated about what the extremism is all about, what the violence is, how they must face it, how they can be handled it, and to teach their children at the very outset.
We came across women who were so convinced that they collected 2 kilos of gold to support Fazlullah, one of the leaders of the extremist groups over there. But we spoke to the same woman, and she said, because you have to really create an awareness regarding, the true teachings of Islam. And unfortunately, in that area, Islam was really misinterpreted, and they were exploited in the name of religion. So when we started talking to them, we found them very responsive, they were literally responding to what we were saying to them. And the woman who collected 2 kilos of gold, she said, "Oh, I am so sorry what I did, and I really want to now do something so that I can." She was very repentant. Like when she was literally repenting what she did, and she said, because I convinced the other mothers also to send their children. So I think women are very powerful agent if they really use that, the being a mother or being a sister, if they use that relationship, they can be very instrumental in bringing a change.
This program was called Open Minds, and as the title of the program says, this was to open up the minds of the students in madrasas. So we would hold these discussion forums inside madrasas on various topics. This included discussions on jihad, discussions on terrorism, discussions on rights of the vulnerable, rights of minorities in the community, a range of topics we discussed. And we ran this program for nearly 2 years in madrasas. This, to your surprise, would be that this was the first time that in a madrasa culture, the students were asking questions, because in a madrasa culture, the students are not supposed to, not allowed to ask questions. This is considered disobedience. But through this program, we made students think critically. We made students question things that were being taught, that were being given to them. So rather than, accepting everything that was coming their way, they would, question it. And this we would do through, facilitated discussion. So we would invite experts on the subject to this madrasa. We would, distribute information prior to the discussion forums so that the students have some background knowledge on the subject, and then they would put up questions to the experts and, to the facilitators. And it changed the madrasa environment, I would say, because once you create, the sense of asking questions, this critical thinking, why is it happening to us? Why us? Why not us benefiting from a lot of opportunities that are out there? Once you instigate that critical thinking in people, then there is no stopping, because you just have to initiate a process. Now, when we go out to these madrasas, we find students, asking a lot of questions from their teachers. And to be very honest, only those teachers who themselves are, deficient on education and knowledge would resist. But a lot of teachers are, supporting these students.
So I always link up CEDAW, for instance, with Islamic injunctions. And I make them think, what are we talking about? Are we talking about women's rights? Islam came up with the first Charter of Human Rights and women rights. It gave right to life at the time when the pagans were they were burying their newborn baby girls alive. So right to life was granted and ordained. Right to inheritance, right to marriage with your own choice, right to divorce, right to public life, right to get into politics, right to earn your own living, and whatever you earn is yours as a woman. So much of rights. I don't know. I mean, there's so much of misconception, even amongst our own Muslim brethren around, who do not understand.
So what we are doing right now is we are having this Balochistan Women Parliamentary Caucus. It is basically unelected women representatives that we're working on. We are training them in conflict management. At the same time, we are also training them to how to build peace and security. And then at the same time, we are building the capacity how they will be a better leaders, better parliamentarians, better lawmakers. At the same time, we are also helping them how to pass the law that protects women. Right now, we are having this domestic bill. It will be going the parliamentarian in the next session. What we have done for this bill is, first we advocate for all the women outside the parliament. Basically, in Balochistan, it's very difficult if you work inside the parliament because of the party affiliation. Sometimes their party doesn't allow them to vote for this bill. So what we are doing is outside the parliament, we do our advocacy. We give them a platform for all these political leaders to be in one platform outside the parliament. So it's one strategy that we use so that we were able to help promote these women issues in the parliament. So before it will go in the parliament, we already getting their signatures so that they will pass it in the parliament in the session. So we get already their consent